Just imagine the feeling of knowing that your music was taking a definite step forward every day. You're not just showing up and going through the motions, but every single practice session is efficient and effective. Here's how to do that. Now, it's easy to realize that you'll make the fastest progress if you practice every day, but it's much harder to show up consistently and actually do it. And there's always the nagging doubt as well about whether what you're doing is actually the most effective stuff, whether it's really moving you forward or you're putting in the work and not getting the results that you would expect. In this video, I'm going to run through a few simple things that you can do to improve the consistency and effectiveness of your music practice. I've used these over the years to be super consistent with my practice over extended periods of time. Just apply one or two of these and I think you'll see a big improvement. And while you're watching, make sure to like, share and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Now, the first really important thing you want to do is have your big long-term goals in mind before you start trying to do a daily practice. And just as importantly, have a really strong why behind those goals you're aiming for. So a real reason why getting there matters to you. And this is because it's not so much just repetition that builds a habit, it's emotion. When you feel really positive about why you're doing something, then it becomes much easier to do it on a regular basis. And so both knowing where you're going and being really clear why that matters to you is going to give you the motivation to practice every day. And this can be a whole number of different things. There can be so many different things you're aiming for and so many different reasons why that matters to you. For me, one of the ones that gets me a lot is connecting to that feeling of how it's going to feel when I've really mastered a piece and I can just play the whole thing and pretty effortlessly without having to really struggle with it. And just the joy of doing that and the sound of the music, when I remember that's what I'm aiming for, this is what really gets me excited, it's so much easier to practice with that strong emotional pull towards what I'm looking to do. And of course, when you've got that emotional connection to your goals, don't just do it once and assume that it's always going to be there for you. You need to remind yourself of this regularly. Just so that you check in with it, it doesn't slide away and diminish over time. And a great thing to do is just before you start your daily practice, just take a quick second to remind yourself, why is this important to me? And as simple as that, it will make it easier for you to do it consistently, and the results from your practice are going to be better because now you're all fired up with a reason why you're doing it rather than feeling, oh, this is just a chore that I've got to get through. And the second thing that you really want to be doing is keeping your practice plan short and manageable, because it's much easier to stick with something that feels doable rather than have this huge, amazing 4-hour planned session that you're going to do every day or whatever it is. And yes, it'll be great if you do it, but it just fills you with dread and you'll never get started. So actually doing something useful consistently on a regular basis, even if it's small, is going to get you much better results than sporadic attempts to do something huge and impressive, but it just doesn't happen often. And if you really do want to aim for something really big, huge amounts of practice every day, then make sure that you have a fallback alternative, which is much shorter and much easier to get done for those days when you're just short of time or you're just really feeling like you're struggling with motivation. Because again, being consistent even in small bits is going to give you better results, but it's also going to help with your motivation when you know you're achieving what you set out to do. Nothing dampens down motivation as much as having this great plan, all the stuff you're going to do, and then you don't do it and you start to feel, oh, this is just not working. And that can just become a downward spiral. The next thing that's really useful to do is have a set time every day when you do your practice. So much easier if there's a point coming up where you just know, right, this is it, this is when I practice, rather than thinking, oh, I'll fit it in whenever, and that's nice. It gives you flexibility, but it also gives you the ability to push it back and procrastinate, and then it just doesn't happen. So I find it much more effective if I know exactly when I'm going to be practicing in advance. And again, you can pick what works for you, but one that's always worked really well for me is first thing in the morning, because my mind is clear. It's a very definite time. I'll get out of bed. I know this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to do a bit of practice before I do anything else, and feel free to try other ones, but that one has always worked really well for me. And the next thing that's really helpful is to have the topic that you're going to be practicing really planned out in advance. So not just generally, oh, I'm going to do something in this vague area, but really know what you're going to do. And this helps in two ways. It's going to be much more effective, your practice, when you've got a very clear thing to do and you can just get straight into it. But also it helps with the motivation, because you may not notice it, but there'll definitely be under the surface a reluctance to do something when you've also got to do the work of discovering, well, what exactly is it, and finding out the details of what you're going to do. That's just extra stuff for you to do, and you may not realize it, but that's going to drag down on your motivation. So when it's all planned out in advance, that makes it a much easier thing to just start and do it, and you'll be amazed at how much this helps you actually practice on a consistent basis. So what do I mean by this? An example might be, rather than thinking, I'm just going to practice scales, I might say to myself, okay, I'm going to practice this particular scale. What am I going to focus on when I do it? I could focus on the tone that I'm getting. I could focus on rhythm. I could focus on having the notes really legato. It doesn't really matter, but let's be specific and pick one of those. And again, how long am I going to practice it for? Am I going to practice it for 20 minutes, for 5 minutes, for 1 minute? When I've said, okay, I'm going to practice my melodic minor scale in thirds, and I'm going to focus on getting a really nice legato connection between the notes, and I'm going to do this for 2 minutes, that's something that is going to help me be effective. It's really clear what I'm doing, and it's going to be much more likely that I do it, because all the deciding what to do is already done. I can just get started, get on with it. And finally, just make sure that your area where you practice is all set up and things are just really easy for you to get straight to it with no barriers in the way. And these can be really small things, but they definitely have a difference on whether you actually practice or whether you feel maybe not even realizing what's going on. You just don't feel like doing it. And so for me, it's things like I have my guitar out on a stand already plugged in, so I don't need to take it out of a case. I can just pick it up and play. That makes things easier. I've got my music stand there already with hopefully whatever I might be working on already out there or easily to hand. I've got other things that I might need, tuner, metronome, plectrums, all those sort of things. They're just there within arm's reach, so I can just go to where I'm going to practice, and that's it. I don't have to find other stuff. I don't have to go away in the middle of a session to find something else. It's just all there. It's all nice and easy, and it just helps me get on with it. Now, I'd love to know which of those tips you found the most helpful, so just let me know by leaving a comment below. But the final thing I want to say to you is, don't wait to have it perfect before getting started. The most important thing you can do is get something in place that's okay, it's going to be useful, and just get on with it, rather than trying to come up with the perfect way to do things, whether that's the perfect routine or trying to put all these tips in place in the perfect way to implement them. That can really slow you down. So don't wait to have things perfect. Get something that is workable, start doing it, and you can always make adjustments later. Now, for a case study of how this can look actually in the real world, check out my video on how I did 2 hours practice a day for 2 years next. And if you'd like the special practice and performance tips that I only share with subscribers, then head on over to playinthezone.com and sign up for the emails. They're free. I've been Morley-Fletcher. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.